So today on Success or Excuses podcast, we have Armin Ossatian. Did I get it right?
Ossatian. You nearly didn't get it right.
Listen, Armin, welcome to Success or Excuses. Go and tell us a little bit about you and how we know each other and a wee bit about your business to kick off.
Aye. Well, I mean, I guess you and I met at networking events.
Long time ago.
The business is over 7 years old now. And it was, I believe it was actually at the brewery. That was the first time I met you.
Wow, that's about 7.5 years ago.
Probably, aye. It was, aye. And that's when I met you. And you were actually doing a presentation.
That's right, aye.
So you done the presentation and you had to shoot off to somewhere else. And that's where I got to know you. And I think it was during COVID that your business was expanding, so you decided to get in touch, and I think it was at the point where you needed proper systems put in, your email systems put in and everything like that, and I think we helped you put that into place. And as the business grew, you needed more and more support, so then that's when it became full support, and now we've been supporting you for probably 5 years.
5 years, aye.
Probably 5 years.
Tell us, what is the business? What is, if you to describe to somebody your elevator pitch, what is it you actually do? What is the business?
The business is IT support, so we look after, so we want to take the pain and the strain away from businesses when it comes to IT. So we want to be, you as a business owner don't need to deal with IT at all. So your systems, you just want somebody to look after it. It's like almost like us. So we've got an accountant that does all our accounts because we can't do it. We can do so much, but but when it comes to the nitty gritty, you want somebody else to deal with it, so you can focus. You want to focus on your business and what you're good at. You know, we can't all be good at everything, so that's why we need to then give that part of the business to somebody else to look after. So we look after the IT for businesses. So when it comes to their infrastructure, their day-to-day problems, setting up new users, you know,
laptops,
you've got plenty
of laptops.
So their security, their data, so the data's managed, so they're compliant. So every industry needs to be compliant in the different industries. So whether it's GDPR, cyber security, whatever it is, businesses need to be compliant for their industry, and that's where we come in. So we make sure that your data is secure, we make sure everything's set up properly, and when you've got problems, you know, there's one point of contact. So your staff, instead of coming to you all the time saying, James, I've got this problem, you just come to us, we just deal with it, so you don't really hear the problems. I know you as a business owner will always hear of problems, but you don't need to deal with it.
We don't, we just pass it to you.
You just pass it to us. So that's what we do. So we day-to-day IT, looking after the infrastructure, making sure your data is secure, compliant, and if there's anything, we try and be proactive as well. So if there is something new that comes to the market that we think will benefit that business, we will then go to that business and say, you know, we think you'll benefit from this, and this is, you know, this is what it will take to put it into place. And if you as a business owner think, you know what, that's actually going to make things more streamlined for us, let's do it, then we'll do it for you.
In actual fact, on our onboarding forum, we've actually got your Dyco IT phone number, Dyco IT, so IT support. So our employees just go direct to you guys.
We obviously monitor how many calls are coming in and how, and if we see there's a trend of things that could be improved, then we'll come to you and say, look, this seems to be a problem. This is how we address it to bring that volume down and then make it, you know, because it's experience for the users as well. You know, for your employees, but things as they're more streamlined, they'll be happier as well, and they'll get things done. Whereas, you know, technology is the pain for everyone.
Absolutely.
You turn on your laptop, it takes ages to come up, or things don't work, and you're in the middle of something and it stops working.
You start freezing.
So we try and take that away and eliminate that, and try and advise business owners of how to do things properly.
Aye. So I want to rewind back. Were you an IT guy? How did it all come about? I always love stories of how businesses set up. I want to know how did
my business partner, he was always IT, so he kind of left. We left school, went to college, done a bit of kind of uni, and then his background was always technology. Mine wasn't. So I finished school, went to university, did maths and physics. So graduated, and as it was coming up towards
the end, you're a clever cunt then, are you?
Well, that's what you want to call it. So when it came towards the end, I thought, what do I want to do with my life? And actually, because of what I did with maths and physics, it was a case of I could become a teacher. I got offers from Siemens in Germany, and there was like the Marines and all this kind of stuff, and you know, they want you to go on the boats and look after, because it was physics, the communication side of things. I thought, I don't want to do that. We're always at war, right? I'll end up not coming back, and I end up getting seasick as well. So what's the point of being at sea? And then another option was like moving abroad, going to Germany and working for a company like Siemens and things. I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave the family. I don't want to leave Scotland. I'm happy here. So teaching was the next thing. So I went to the teaching, got accepted. I thought, I'm about to sign this. Is this really what I want to do? I thought, this isn't what I want to do, because then I'm tied down. I want to do bigger things with my life. So I started working for my dad, and then he was coming up for retirement, and I thought, what will I do? And then I met...
what did you do working for your dad?
He had he had shops and things like that, so I was just working with him for a while. Right. And then it was coming for retirement, and he's like, do you want to take over? I was like, definitely want to do this. Right. So
my dad.
It was through kind of relationships and things like that as well that I met the guy who I started working for, and he was in IT, and he kept hounding me. He's like, you should come, a clever guy, you should come into IT, come in. So eventually I caved in, and I thought, do you know what, let's give this a bash. And I did. So I progressed, and I thought, I've actually got a wee knack here for like customer support and looking after customers.
By the way, I totally agree. Your customer service is what keeps us with you guys.
So I thought, and I started off in IT, and I thought I really actually enjoy this, the whole customer aspect of it. There is a lot of pressure in IT, because if IT's down, well, let's face it, the world stops spinning.
Absolutely.
So there was a lot of pressure, long hours and things like that. And as the years went on, I thought, do you know what, this is something that I could do, but I could do it a lot better. Because the customer service that company was given was good. There was nothing wrong with it, but I just felt I could do more. Because customers relied on me, and there was actually points where customers would phone up, and even though there was a help desk, they would actually ask for me all the time, and I was getting customer recommendations and all this kind of stuff.
Phoning and asking for you.
So there's customer recommendations, things like that, and I thought, do you know what? I feel like I'm almost everything that I want to do, I can't, because I'm working for someone. The customer satisfaction, it's all through me, the customers that I look after. So why am I doing this for someone else when I could do this myself?
Yep.
And I'm the kind of person that if I want to do something, I won't think about it too much, because then I'll talk myself out of doing it. Yep. So if it's a car I want to go, I'll just go and get it. If it's something I want to do, I'll just do it. So I thought, do you know what? After we did the Commonwealth Games and Ryder Cup in 2014, and then towards the end of that, we were under a lot of pressure. And then as that came to the end, we weren't rewarded the way we were supposed to. And I thought, do you know what, I've just busted myself for a full year, lack of sleep, lack of eating, and it was a bad place. My mind was in a bad place, and I thought, I'm done, I'm out of here. So I thought, I'll learn as much as I can about the industry, about the business side, because it was always technical, and I'd done some pre-sale, but I'll try and bring everything together, and I'll go and do this for myself. And it'll take a while, and obviously I've got a good family that will support me as well, and I had enough money to put aside, and I thought, do you know what, that'll keep me going for the next year or two until I build a business that I want to build. And that's what I did. So at that point I then approached my business partner now, Gary.
How did you meet Gary?
Through working together.
Right, okay.
So we worked together, we'd known each other for a while, and we'd worked together, and I knew how good Gary was in the technical aspect of things, big projects, and he'd done a huge amount of projects, both public and private sector. So I knew he knew his stuff. I knew my stuff, but I was nowhere near in his level, and you always need somebody in that level to be able to do it. Plus, I could trust him. I knew the guy, and I thought this is going to be a journey that we could start together and watch it grow. So that's what we did. So I spoke to Gary, and he was on board straight away. He was like, this is a great idea, so let's do it. So we put a business plan together. We then looked at all the things that we need. We knew that cash was obviously going to be something that we'd need to be very, very careful. So we started our systems really slim. We started building a customer base. As you know, I was networking.
Constantly. We met each other at event after event after
every
event.
Every single day I was out networking, trying to find. And it wasn't, I quickly changed. I realised that networking wasn't fully about, I go to this networking event and I'm going to get a piece of business. It was about building relationships.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what it was. And
that's how we met, because we built a relationship. We started to speak to each other. So as soon as I needed IT support, I'm like, I think I remember I had your card. I'm like, I remember that Armin did. And I'm like, and I got your card. That's how. So it's amazing how networking actually works when you go in there to build relationships.
I mean, I still go to networking events, and there's people that are new and it's their first time in networking. And she says, look, don't come here thinking that I'm going to walk away with a piece of business. You might do 100 networking events and you'll walk away with nothing. But what you do is you build that relationship that will then, you'll get something from it, because I've met James now. I've built a relationship with James we've got to know each other, we've got to trust each other. So if there's a piece of business that I come across and I think, this would suit James, you're the person I would then recommend that person because I trust you, and it's the same. That's how it is. So it's building a relationship. That's how we've managed to build a business. I think, James, going to networking events, and all the networking events I've been to, I've probably managed to get 3 pieces of business out of all of it. But the rest of it, it's been through, the relationships that we've built. People have recommended us. Because we're in an industry where people will not go and Google IT support. If you're a business owner and you're not happy with your IT...
You don't know you need it until something goes wrong.
Something goes wrong.
And that's when you go, oh...
Exactly. And so if you're a business owner and you've got IT and you're not happy with your IT, you'll never go and Google, It's a case of, I know James, he's in business, I know he's got IT, I'll phone James. James, who's it you use? And then James will say, well, I use Armin, use ICO, so are they good? Aye. Can you pass your details on? That's how we
are. So ask for Armin. Sorry, Gary. Ask for Armin.
Sorry, Gary. I know.
How did the name come about?
The DICO, so the name came about actually, so my uncle in the Middle East, he owns a really successful business. It's building bulk the caps for basically Coca-Cola, Pepsi and things. And another part of the business was called DICO, and they actually, believe it or not, any business that wanted to work with the Middle East, they would, so the West and the East, they would bring those businesses together. So somebody from the East wanted to work with a company and says, look, I want to work in this industry. I'm looking for customers that will be here. So this company brought them together, and they were called DICO. So that's what I was wanting to call the company. I spoke to my uncle and he was fine with it. And then when Gary we sat down and we looked at the name, Gary says, well, why don't you just drop the L and just call it DICO, and we could call it dynamic computing.
Right.
If anyone asks. So then we then put the IT at the end of it as well, because we're not big. People need to know what we are, so we need to put DICO IT Solutions so people know what we do.
Absolutely.
So so that's how the name came about. It's very difficult choosing a name. Plus, when we looked at it as well, there was I think there's only one company. It's called DICO, and that's in America. It's a paint company. So we weren't competing with the names and the domains and things, because that's one thing that, see, when you're starting off, finding a name that you can buy the domain and people won't have it. You're not going to get mixed up with somebody else that's got a bad name in the industry.
Listen, I've got about, I think I've purchased 22 domains. All the Power Within, the Power Within Training, Motivation, or something, UK.org.
Scoop it all up.
I mean, all of them. Don't get me wrong, I mean, it's not cheap when you actually add it up.
Oh no, it's not. But then you don't want somebody else taking that name and then creating a bad name in the industry.
So anything you type in to do with the Power Within, leading with motivation challenges, it's our domain. We own all the domains.
That's the way you want it. That's what you want. And you've no idea the amount of people that come to us and they want to start off a business. And they say, can you buy us this? No, we can't. It's already been taken. How do we get it? Well, you can't take it. Somebody else has got it.
Well, the actual domain that I really wanted, talking about domains, was, so there's a domain, thepowerwithin.com, but it was like 36 grand.
It's crazy money. Some of the stuff is...
Because I don't get it as often now, but I used to constantly get, do you want to buy the domain, do you want to buy the domain, do you want to buy the domain? And I got a chance. It was up in auction. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. It was up in auction, and I think it went for like 21,000.
Crazy.
And I knew it's 36 and 40 grand. If I had bought it, I would have made. But then I'm thinking, do I really want to own the powerwithin.com when I've already owned the powerwithintraining.com.co.uk, .everything.org? And I thought, no, really, because my company's the Power Within Training. So, but I wanted it initially, because you're always, as you said, you always try to cover your bases with domains, don't you? Find a name that nobody else has got. Make sure the domain's available. Make sure, and then you have to go and search it. So you've got to do all these things, and then you've got to go through all the IP, and it's a carry on, man.
It takes time, and obviously setting up it's a challenge. When you're first setting up, there's so many obstacles you need to. You think it's a piece of cake, but it's not. A lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of things.
You think the businesses, people are just going to come, don't you? And it's like,
no, you don't. When I first started off, James, the thing, it was, I don't know what it was, but as soon as I went to sleep, or you're lying in bed, everything would start coming into your head. So I actually started putting a notepad next to my bed, because I knew in the morning I'd forget. So as soon as something would pop up, I'd write it down, and the amount of things that would pop up in your head through the night, like, why can that not pop into my head during the day? I'm lying in bed wide awake.
That's called your subconscious mind.
I know.
What happens during the day is you think about a problem or a solution or a challenge, right? But your brain's so occupied with all the other stuff that's going on all day. When you go and start to, so what happens is your conscious mind starts to shut down. Your subconscious mind's into overdrive. Yeah. And when that gets into overdrive, then it starts to answer all the wee questions you had during the day. Yeah. I'm the same. For years and years, I used to sit with a notepad at the side of my bed, especially in the early days.
And when you want to draft up an email as well, you know, if there's an email that you need to send out, you think, that's a cracking email, I've got that there.
You get up.
And you go to type it and you're like, what was that again? You're like, why can my brain not work?
I did that last night, by the way.
I know. So it's been a good chat. It's been a good journey for us. You know, touch wood, year in, year out, we've grown. And there's no looking back. I honestly can't think of even the thought of going back and working for someone. It's just, couldn't.
No way. It's just I want to go back a wee bit. So I want to talk a wee bit about you now. You've told me about the business journey, and with a name like that, right? You know, obviously my wife Ina, she's for the Middle East, she's for Yemen. Her name is Inas Abdullah Othman Al Hoki. So that's my wife's full name. Fleming. She just cuts all the rest out.
You must get big cards for Valentine's Day and stuff like that, you know. Get the full name in.
Tell us a wee bit about your background, because you've got quite an unusual name.
So Armin is German, and it's Iranian as well. So that's, my family's from Iran, and it's German, but it's also Iranian. It's part of the area, and that's why the name comes. So it's
German and Iran have actually got a really good relationship.
They do.
I used to look after a German company my old life, and anytime I wanted to go to Iran, it was much easier to get a visa through my German office than it was through.
That relationship's always been there. And that's where the name comes from. My surname, no idea where that comes from. No idea. I know it's not Iranian. It seems to be such a big mix. So I don't know. But here we are. I've only got the two. Armin Ossatian. That's it. I've not got any middle names or anything. So I wasn't born here. I don't know if you knew that. No,
I didn't know that.
I wasn't born here. We came over in 1986. And I always tell people I come off, because people hear the accent and go, so you're born here? No, I come off the boat in 1986. And then if it's a night out, Gary will go, here we go, here's a story coming out again. So we came over in 1986, and the reason we came to Scotland of all places, because people say, you know, like Wisher, you know, you're a Wisher boy, how's that? It's because my uncle stayed here.
I'm a Wishy boy.
Wishy boy, I know. So
we never knew that about each other, didn't we? Until just a few years ago that we were both Wishy boys.
Both Wishy boys. But your school's knocked down. Well, I suppose my school's knocked down and rebuilt at least.
Right.
Yours is just knocked down.
Yours is just gone.
Yours is gone. So no, my uncle stayed here.
Right.
And he'd been here since he was a young boy, and then he married here and he had a family and things. So my dad used to visit here before he was married as well. So when all the things that happened with the revolution in Iran, it was time to move. My dad, he was in a high-end job and his life was at risk and everything. So it was like, we need to go. So that's why we moved here, and then we just settled down here. What
age were you when you first moved here?
4. So
can you remember it? No,
I can remember everything.
Can you?
I can remember everything in Iran. I've got a good long-term memory. Short-term memory, terrible. Long-term memory, great. I can remember everything. It was tough times moving. It wasn't easy, because you left your family behind. You left everything that you knew behind. And you came to a new country where you didn't know the language, didn't know anything.
So you didn't speak English or anything? Oh,
because it was nursery there, didn't it?
And
then I came over here, and by the time everything was, we got into our way, it was actually halfway through first year, like primary school. First year,
primary one.
Primary one. It was halfway through primary one. So it was a case of either wait till that's over or I just go. So my uncle managed to talk the school into just taking me halfway through, and then I wouldn't get a lunchtime. I had like 10 minutes for lunchtime, no break. I had somebody just teaching me English. So by the end of primary one, I knew enough to be able to go into primary 2. So it was kind of tough times there. But you just pick up so quick when you're young. You know, and I know I don't shut up. You know, for not being able to speak a word.
Well, Ina's learned to speak. You know, my wife's English. She's got a Scottish accent and everything, and she learned she went to private school in Yemen, so they spoke English. So even though she's Arabic, she speaks fluent Arabic, she spoke English through primary school, through high school. So when she went to uni, believe it or not, that it was Arabic. So everything was taught in Arabic.
Was that uni here or uni?
No, uni in Yemen. Aye. Because when I met Enos was 28. Living in Dubai, so she lived in Dubai. We worked for the same oil and gas company.
Okay.
So that's how I met her. So I was a senior boss, and Enos was our logistics manager.
Right. And you decided to leave that good weather in Dubai to come back here.
Oh, I know. Was
it the rain you missed? What was it?
That's another story, man. I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, when you came back to came to the UK, challenges at school, then you just kind of.
We hit rock bottom because we lost everything.
Aye.
That's another story. We lost everything that we ever came here with. All the money that came here and everything, we just all lost. So we had to start from absolute scratch. And then we built up hard work. And then right the way through school, I worked with my dad. So
your dad came in and started a business and all that as well?
Aye. So then he started. It took him a while, because he was, even emotionally, he was down here as well, because he'd lost everything. I
actually can't even imagine it, because I know the stories about Iran, because Iran used to be stunning. I mean, it used to be like the Dubai in the Middle East before Dubai was even a thing.
People say, they compare it to other countries in the Middle East, and I say to them, it's completely different. It was very westernised. Women,
very.
There was no headscarves. Women were in miniskirts. There was pubs. There was nightclubs.
Bikinis,
there was everything. It was, the cars, the lifestyle, everything. People were at the beach, and there was none of this covering up or anything. But unfortunately, it was a wealthy country. The West wanted a piece of it, like they do just now. I'm not going to go into politics, but that's what happened basically. Too much oil, too much gas, gold, all the resources that everybody else wanted. And unfortunately, they managed to topple the regime. And 40 odd years later, people are still suffering. So we've went from that to this. And then we're in the news for always the wrong reason.
Aye.
We're in the movies, I always say. We're in almost every movie, but for the wrong reason, or the baddie.
By the way, believe it or not, right? Nearly every, when you watch all the CIA movies about the Middle East, they all mention Yemen as well. Enos is always like that to me.
Why?
Why does it have to be always my country? Like, why is it always
Hopefully
Yemen?
they pronounce it properly, because Iran's always Iran.
Iran. No, they say Yemen, or the Yemen is another one. But so she gets that all the time as well. Every movie. Yours right, it's either Iran or it's Yemen.
We're always the baddies. And it's not the people, it's the governments. It's the people who are running it. It's not the people. Nobody wants that life. And Enos doesn't want that. Her family doesn't want that life. None of us do. But you never know, James. Things might change. You just don't know. You just don't know what's around the corner. But we've had to wait 40 odd years and it's still not changed. So let's see what happens.
Yemen's been the same, as I said. I mean, they've had internal wars and blah blah blah, and it just, do you know what it is? It's greed, isn't it? It's just pure greed.
Yes.
It's the rich and powerful wanting more power and wanting more money. It's never enough.
Never enough. As humans, we always
Yemen's
want
got all the minerals. Do you know Yemen? Here's the thing about most people don't know about Yemen. Yemen was the #1 coffee exporter in the world.
I didn't know that. No.
And then they done away with all the coffee. And they grew a thing called gat. You ever heard of gat?
No.
And this is so half of, in fact, more than half, about 80% of the Yemen population they're not on drugs. Somebody will kill me for saying this. There's a thing called gat, right? And it's a plant, something like the cocoa plant where you get cocaine.
Yep.
But it's called gat. And what they do is they grow this tree, they peel the leaves, and they suck them under. So have you ever seen Yemen? They've always got this thing in their mouth, right? And it slowly releases. It's like speed. It's an amphetamine, and it gives them a thing.
Sense of calm.
Do you know it's a mix between hyper, like they talk all the time on it, like, but also keeps them feeling calm. So it's this weird thing that I've never actually tried it, but Enos has told me about it. I tried it when I was in Yemen. I tried it, but I didn't get anything off it. Because you need to do it for hours, and it's just this stinking. You imagine if you took a big lump of grass and chewed it, that taste. You imagine that? You ever tried grass? Yeah, a bit of grass, normal grass. No, get out your nut grass.
Probably on a tackle with the ground when I was at school. I can't remember it, but probably.
So a stinky taste, so I couldn't handle it. Because you need to leave it in for a long while, because it's got to get into slowly seep into the bloodstream. So half Yemen are out there nuts. So they used to be massive fish and coffee producers, I mean, in the world. They used to send it everywhere, and then they started cutting it down because the Saudis were paying the Yemen government not to do this and not to do that. They were trying to keep them, what's the right word, to stop them from becoming a powerful, vibrant country.
Stump them all the time.
Stumping them, aye. Stumping them.
Well, look at Ukraine. I mean, look at all the stuff about Ukraine that's coming out now. Did any of us know that they were producing 18% of the world's wheat and food and all that?
No.
Nobody knew that.
No, until the war.
The lithium that's got and all the resources and all the primary resources it's got, nobody knew. But look at the state of it now. And every country has got its own uniqueness, but then that uniqueness can be something that the other countries want. So for that, they'll just go and do whatever they want to get their hands on
oil, gas. I mean, you name it, and it's just incredible how.
Does anybody even talk about Iraq anymore?
I know. Listen, I lived in Erbil, which is still part of Kurdistan, which is northern Iraq. I lived there for a bit of years because I used to manage Iraq country, and it was. I mean, it was. See, when I've travelled, right, so if I was travelling for the airport in Iraq, right, and I was going to one of the bases, I would have the Kevlar body armour.
Was this before the war or after?
No, this was after. It was 2013, 2014. I was the country manager for Iraq, and I used to wear helmets and Kevlar, and it was like something at the telly, right? You'd have Humvees and all that, and all these Land Cruisers with bulletproof glass, and they would take you from the airport and take you to the different bases and all that. It was bonkers, man. Bonkers. And now everybody's just forgot about it.
Nobody even mentions Iraq anymore.
I know.
I've actually got Iraqi friends that say that Iraq was a better place under Saddam's regime than what it is now.
Absolutely.
There was more security and safety, and they could actually live their lives under his regime, even though we know how extreme it was and what kind of person he was.
Well, that war was a big lie anyway, let's be brutally honest.
We know that. We know what it was all about. Everybody knows that.
Oil and gas.
We know what the war is now as well. We know what every war is now.
Aye, absolutely.
What can we do, James? We're just a drop in the ocean.
But it just blows you away when you think about it. And I think I've probably, because I really understand your story because I lived in the Middle East for so long. I lived in Saudi, I've lived in Oman, I've lived in Dubai, I've lived in
You've been to Iran
Qatar. I've never been to Iran. I've got visas in my passport and I've never been.
It's a shame if you'd been at the time before the revolution.
Syria. Sorry, I'm jumping in. Syria's another place. When I went to Syria, right? Syria, you could go into the bar, you take a bottle of vodka, you go into the club. In Syria, Damascus, you could actually sit and have a drink and all that in the clubs. And I mean,
look at it now.
Honestly, see when I went to Syria, it was when you went to the main place where all the clubs and bars and that were, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was like a cheap version of Dubai. Like, it wasn't fancy like Dubai, but it was brilliant. Like, it was so much fun.
See, the thing is, James, right, I'm not going to go, as I say, politics is a touchy subject with everyone, right? You don't want to really go into it, right? But then people are up in arms just now about the amount of immigrants that come into this country.
Absolutely.
Right? And you understand,
rightly so, for a lot, yeah.
Of course, nobody wants their country to be invaded with immigrants coming in, because everybody wants to be their own country, their own identity, and their own cultures and everything. And then obviously, as a mix comes in, things change, and people don't want that. No country wants that. But then what I always say is that, should you be really focusing on all these people coming into the country, do you ask yourself why? Should it be your own government that you should be going to? Because it's maybe them that's manipulating what's happening in those countries.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to leave their own country, James. My parents, if you speak to them, they will say, if Iran had to change like that tomorrow, they'd be back. They don't want, because that's their land, that's their culture, and that's where their life was, and that's where they want it to be.
Would you go? Because you're Scottish, man.
The thing is, though, James, I was there as a child. All my family are now passed away or moved out. So my memories were then. If I go back now, it's a different world.
It's not your country anymore.
So I would probably...
It's your heritage, but it's not your country.
I would probably struggle. But I always say that nobody wants to leave their land. If people are leaving, why are they leaving? Is it because of what the West is maybe doing to the East and all the manipulating and everything that they're doing? And these people have got nothing else. They've got young children. There's you know, and they want a better life for them. Everybody wants a better life for their children and for themselves. So that's why people come. So
a lot of it in the UK though, and again I don't want to get down a rabbit hole with this, but I feel like a lot in the UK is due to poor integration. It's just cultures, because I always think, right, so when I lived in Saudi, I lived by their rules. When I lived in Dubai, not so much lived by the rules, because the rules are very relaxed, because people forget that Dubai is a Muslim country, right? Very relaxed Muslim country, because you can literally get away with anything and to a point. But it's very relaxed. For Saudi, you can't drink, you can't do all the things.
But that's changing as well.
Yeah, aye. But my point though is the point was, when I lived there, I was in Saudi for 4 years. I lived by their rules and by their culture, and I was respectful, and I learned their language, and a wee bit of Arabic, I've got to say, not a big bit. So I always think it's about integration, and I think
you've got to adapt.
Absolutely, because you've integrated.
Aye,
like your whole family's obviously integrated really well.
You can't come into a new country and you still have all those beliefs that you had in your own country, because you've just went into another culture. So you need to then adapt, because it's only you're going to survive is to adapt, and respect as well, because you've also got to respect the country you're in. Because if I always say for a joke, like, thanks for letting me into your country. that kind of way, because I have, and all the friends and everything that I've got as well. You've got to also appreciate somebody letting you into their country as well.
Aye, absolutely.
And I always say that to people. You've got to be open-minded about everything.
It's amazing how different views. I mean, my view of the world is, I've lived outside the UK more than I've lived inside the UK. So I've got quite a very relaxed, I suppose maybe an open view of the world. Like I've seen different cultures. When I used to manage a big team in Dubai, I had probably every nation that you can imagine. Like reporting into you. So you had Canadians and Americans and Pakistans and Indians and Saudis and Omanis.
Everybody brings something different to
and
the
they've
table.
all got different cultures. Like Omanis, how they greet each other. They rub noses.
Eskimo kiss.
The noses. they rub noses. That's Omanis.
Is it?
Aye, so when you get into the culture and people know that you're in the culture, they want to rub your nose, and it's quite weird.
And a lot of other cultures is kissing in the cheek.
Aye, and it's really weird, really weird that the different cultures. And what I think it's done for me is I see the world through a different set of eyes, right? Because what I learned is it doesn't matter what your background, your race, your religion, the colour of your skin, whether you're male, female, or any other. We're all just human beings, man, right? We all want the same things.
Exactly.
We all want to feel happy and successful. My idea of success, your idea might be slightly different, but that's not ultimately what people really want.
Peace. That's what we want. We just want peace to be able to live.
Happiness, and we want to feel content. And I think that's also a reason. I want to go back to the business now, because I think, for me, I had a fantastic career in oil and gas, and I made stupid shitloads of money, and I lived everybody else's life, or idea of the perfect life.
Yeah.
As you said, living in Dubai, why would you leave Dubai and come back to Pishy Wishy? But I wasn't happy. Right? I was living this life, I was making all this money, I had a fancy house, fancy cars, and I was miserable, man, because I was working for somebody else, and I kept thinking to myself, I've always been quite entrepreneurial, hence the reason I left school with no qualifications, by the way, and I was running a multi-billion-dollar business, and it was always the mindset for me. It was always that I had this self-belief,
the ambition,
right? I'd always had the drive, and it was the drive that made me go back to college, and then the drive that made me go to uni. So even though I left school with nothing, I actually did it all later on in life, because I knew, I could see that if I wanted to get on in life, I had to be different, I had to do different, and if that meant going to college and going back to uni and doing all these things, then that's what
But if you hadn't done all that, it wouldn't have opened up your mind.
Probably.
It wouldn't have opened up your mind.
Aye.
That travel and just being with different cultures has opened up your mindset. And
absolutely, man.
And it's always a trigger. And people say to me that it's about opportunity. Somebody always opens a door for you. Whether it's you end up working for a company and you think, do you know what? And somebody's giving you that opportunity to work in that organisation. but it's about what you do with it. Because not everyone can go into business, because it is a lot of pressure.
It's hard.
It's not easy.
It's hard.
James, the last proper holiday I probably had, where I didn't need to worry about an email coming through. If my phone wasn't on silent just now, they've probably went off about 20 times just sitting here for the time we've sat here. But the proper last holiday I probably had was about 9 years ago, I would say, where I could actually switch off. I didn't need to worry about phone
when you were
calls,
an employee,
emails, having to do things and all the rest of it. See now, no matter where I go on holiday and things, my laptop's with me.
Me too.
So I need to answer
Both me and
emails,
Naz.
I need to answer calls, and a lot of the times people don't know I'm even abroad, because I'm still continuing to do everything I need to do. You know, and there's times I'll work from the 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and then after that time I'll then go, whether it's a run, a walk, whatever you want to do, go out for something to eat, you do that. It's only when people phone my mobile and hear the international ringtone that they actually know I'm out of the country. You know, so it's not for everyone.
No, but you're like me though, because we're both jacking about, like, you can't sit down. Like,
you don't have weekends and things like that.
Constant.
I'm constantly got a laptop on my lap, doing stuff.
If I'm not going anywhere on a Saturday or doing anything on a Sunday, I'm working. I'm sitting in my office, because I'm like, well, I can get ahead of the game the day, or I can learn something, or I can.
I'm not getting phone calls just now because it's a Saturday, it's a Sunday. You know,
weird, because he slags you all the time, like, because you never stop.
Yeah. You're always answering messages and things. The only time you don't is when you're driving, you know, or if you're in a meeting, you can't do it. But being in business isn't for everyone, because it is high pressure.
It's hard,
if you live your life the way you're just looking for that Friday, hits Monday and you just want it to be Friday, then it's not for you.
Absolutely, man.
And, you know, and that's not a bad thing.
No,
because
I
know I've got a lot of friends who they could be in high earning jobs, but they aren't, because the people who they work for, they're content because they're happy. They go into work, they're not getting
They make a decent lifestyle, they're happy with that.
Yeah, they've got their cars, they've got their houses and stuff, and they love life, and that's perfect. That's you know, and you envy people like that because they're happy where they work and things. And if that's the way you are, so be it. But then some people aren't happy and they just want to do something else. So I used to be a moaner. So when I was employed, I used to moan about things all the time. And then it got to the point where I thought, why am I moaning? Either change jobs or do what you want to do in life. Because if you don't, then you always look back. There's no point in moaning. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to your moans, because all you become is the moaner of the organisation.
Absolutely.
So if you're not either be happy, try and make yourself happy in that place. See if you're not.
Success or excuses.
There's a whole world out there. Go and get another job. Go and try and do something for yourself. There's people that I'm speaking to just now, and they're maybe in their 30s, or some of them are in their 40s, and you think, I'm too old to start a business.
I started in my 40s.
Look at KFC.
I started in my 40s.
Look at KFC.
You know,
when did he start his business?
I'm 52, and our business just turned 8. I started in my 40s.
40s, I know. It's never too late. I mean, with modern medicine, how long are you going to live? You'll live into your 80s and 90s. You know.
By the way, that's one of the reasons I set up my business, as well as the other reasons was, I thought, like, I want to own something. I want to build something in my own. My God, didn't realise how hard it was going to be. I want to go back to something you said in a minute. I'm going to go sidetracking here, but it was that I can never imagine retirement. Like, I can't. Even if I've got a our business is probably going to turn out 2 million this year, and even though I could potentially sell it, I would have to go start another business, because I can't sit down. No. I don't know how to no work, because I love working. I love it. I love working. Anyway, I wanted to go back to something we were talking about. I've bloody forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, I wanted to know about what's the next for, like, so you're starting a business. At some point, you will need to be able to chill. There's going to be, at some point, right, there's going to have to be a time for Armin where it's like, I want to be able to go on holiday, and I'll take my laptop, but I don't need it, right? So I don't need it. There's got to be, surely there must be some vision there where you think, I want to get the business to this point so I can switch off sometimes. Because you've got to switch off sometimes.
You've got to switch off at times, and you've got to be able to. My problem is that I feel that I'm the person that I can trust the most when it comes to getting things done. Gary will...
Not always a great trait, by the way.
It's not always a great trait.
Especially for building a business.
I've got customers that phone me and say, sorry, I've got a new start tomorrow. I need a laptop. I need everything set up. Now, realistically, how the hell do you get a laptop for the next day? Right, a business laptop. You can go to Curry's and buy a home laptop and things, but how do you do it? But I always say, I'm always there for my customers.
Aye.
And that's what I've built a business on.
Aye.
Is that if a customer needs me, whether it's, even if they don't have a contract for a Saturday and Sunday, they know they can phone me if things get really bad. And that's what I've built a business on. Gary hates me for at times when I'm that sharp, you know, but for me, it's
over deliver. You over deliver. That's fair enough.
It's this person that I am.
Aye.
And it frustrates me when I'm dealing with another company and they're not like that. Whether it's something that you're trying to get done and all the rigmarole and all the people sitting trying to make decisions, just make a decision, get it done. And that's what I'm like. So if something needs done, I'm just a great believer. Get it done. Don't find excuses not to do it.
Aye.
Right? It doesn't matter if you need to. See if you've got something on and you need to finish at 5 o'clock. See if something happens and you need to work the full weekend. So be it.
Absolutely,
because
agree.
the work needs to get done.
Absolutely,
because
agree.
that's how you build a reputation. That's how you then become different from everyone else.
Absolutely, you do.
Because bringing out excuses that you phone me and say, Armin, I've got a new start on Monday and today's Thursday.
And we've done it a lot.
And you've done it a lot. And I say to James, sorry, I can't get you a laptop till next week. So, you know, tough. You should have told me earlier.
Aye.
It's easy to say that and that takes the pressure off me.
Yep.
But then does that build me a great reputation? Then I just fall into the same category as every other organisation.
Absolutely, 100%.
You know, and people say to me, but Armin, is that because you guys are maybe smaller just now? And as you grow, will you then change and become like that as well? And I says, well, no, because that's the promise I'll give you, that I won't become that. So when you say to me there will need to come a time when you take a step back, I need to be able to then trust the staff that I've got and the management that I've got, that they will be able to do what I can do.
And they can, by the way, I'm telling you, right, through experience, they can. But listen, I know how you're feeling. I used to be that, because I built this business, right? Every training program we run, I built it.
It's about
all the sales. I've done the sales. I've done the running the programs. I built the programs. There's nothing in my business I haven't done. I've done the marketing. I've done the IT. I've done everything, right? So there's nothing in my business I don't know how to do. And see, when you hire that first trainer and the first coach and the first accounts person, it's hard because you don't trust them. See, when you can't possibly trust them. They're new.
See, when somebody says to you, "It's your business is your baby," it actually is your baby, because you think if you've got, I know you've got your daughter and I've got my son, and as they grow up, you know, they get to the age where, Dad, I want to go to the park, and you know the park's only 200 metres from your house, right? And you think, no, I'm going to come with you, and then eventually you need slowly to let it go. You think, right, he can do that walk himself. You know where he is. You know he's going to come back, and then you go, you know, and it's the same with your business.
Absolutely. So but it's hard.
It's hard because it is your baby, and you need to be able to know that you can let go, and it is difficult. And I have, you know, and things, you know, at first I used to do everything, all the calls, everything used to come through to me and Gary, and then we took, you know, somebody on, and at first you were keeping on top of that. How did you do that? What did the customer say? And you were looking at the tickets and things, and now you're learning to trust, because you're actually seeing that things are going going well. You get customers, you know, I'll phone a customer and say, look, are you happy with everything, how things are going? And they'll say, yeah, it's great. And you and Enas have given me feedback as well, saying, oh, things are going well. And as long as I know that it's happening, then you can start to let go, and you can start delegating things to other people.
Aye, sure.
But it is difficult, James. It's and trust me, and the sleepless nights and all the things that you worry about, everything from payments to growth, and it almost becomes a responsibility for you as a business owner, because as you take employees on, they've got mortgages, they've got outgoings, they've got family and things, and it's all on you. You can't point a finger at anyone else, because if there's any failures, the buck stops with you. That's it. You can't use an excuse.
That's it.
You can't point a finger and go, but it was him that was supposed to do it, because him is your responsibility.
It's your business. Absolutely. You're the leader. You're the leader.
It was her that was supposed to do it. Well, she's your responsibility as well.
So what have you said or no said? What have you done or no done where she thinks or he thinks that's okay? Because that really is where the buck stops, isn't it? I think that's probably the hardest part, because you can be a business owner, right, and I say it in loose terms, business owner, where you've just created a job for yourself, right? Well, a lot of self-employed, it's like you're really just working for yourself, and then it's once you start having employees,
it becomes a different story.
It becomes a different story. And I always think, like, I try and build a team, and we've got an incredible team. But we've had loads of people come on board and let go with you, know, because you're the one that does the laptops and changes all the stuff about it. We've a lot of people in, a lot of people out, because they don't fit the culture. Because your culture, we're high performance. We teach it. but we live and we breathe it.
Yep.
So, and hence the reason we were talking about earlier about Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, you could walk by our office and we're 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. We're still sitting there most of the time. We're still sitting there because we want to be the best, right? Anyway, and when you're building a team, you want to build a team of people who have the same values as you.
Of course.
Right? So, and then they've got to buy into your vision. So they've got to have the same values. And that's actually one of the things I ask, particularly with my senior staff, is I tell them this is the vision. When you come and work for this company, I don't say come and work for me. I always say the company or the family business or the team. I refer to everything as when you join the team or when you join the family business. I say to them, you're working for this vision. This is the vision. That's what you're working on. No anything else.
No.
All that other stuff needs to go out the window. This is what you're coming on board for. You're coming on board to help me realise this vision. Some people get it and some people don't. And the ones that don't last long and they're out.
Because if you can make them believe that vision, then they can deliver that vision.
Absolutely.
And they're basically representing your business. Mm-hmm. So whether you've got somebody going out to a client or if they're on the phone, they're on a Teams meeting, whatever it is, they're representing you as a business. So if you can train that person, because the businesses that I've worked in the past, people get promoted within a business, but that person might not be a people's person. Yep. They don't go through any management courses. They don't go through that position that they're getting. They've had no training. So they might not be the right fit, but they just get the position because they've been there for a long time.
Absolutely.
And that's where a failure comes in. And every business that succeeds and grows, it's the people in that business that make it.
It's the people, that's it.
Because if you've got the wrong people in place to do that job, then the company will not succeed.
Absolutely.
If you look after your staff, they will look after you. And I've seen that as well. So people that I've worked with in the past and they've went to other different companies and say, it's fantastic. You know, they've done an hour's overtime. Like Gary, for instance, he was one of the first ones. So when he's worked for a lot of companies, and there was one particular company that he worked for, and he'd done like 5-6 hours over the weekend just dabbling in things. And then when it came to the end of the month, and he was putting his overtime sheet in, he hadn't put that in, and he actually got pulled up and says, "Why have you not put this in?" And Gary said, "Well, I didn't think." It's because he was used to not putting it in because of the companies he'd worked for before.
Yeah.
And that obviously changed his mind. Well, wait a minute, these guys actually care. Yep. So what happens is he starts putting more effort in.
Absolutely.
So he starts looking after things and taking more care, and so he doesn't mind the extra that maybe he needs to do. So we will go over and beyond for a customer.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all to do with how you look after your staff and how they then, when it comes to Christmas, how you look after them there. Something happens within their family or something personal, hospital, whatever it is.
That's the things that matter, isn't it?
If you accommodate, because we're all human at the end of the day, and we've got it's not just work life, we've got personal things as well, and they mix. So as a business owner, you've got to understand. And I'm a great believer is, see, if you're having a bad day, don't take that into work.
Oh, absolutely, man.
As a business owner,
emotional intelligence.
Leave it at the door and then go in.
I've got a question for you. Can you remember when you and Gary hired your first employee, how scary that was?
Well, when we first employed, the first employee that we employed, we had great ambition. You know, and unfortunately it didn't work out. They just weren't the right fit at all. You know, it was just, I don't know, for Gary and I, when we first started, it was a notepad, right? Notepad, and you write. And I think the first employee that we took on, he brought his phone out. So we're giving him all this, you know, and he's on his phone. Like, why are you on your phone? I'm taking notes on my phone. You're like, is this a new digital age? Are we getting too old? You know, and it was things like that as a way to try and adapt. But it was scary in the fact that,
how am I going to pay their bill if we don't get enough business coming in?
That was the thing. And we're at that point now where we could possibly take on more staff. But then, as you know, it's your biggest outgoing is your staff.
Absolutely.
You know, and
especially now that the bloody national insurance, I mean, there's 17 years. I mean, that's a fair whack every year.
We just had our corporation tax come in, and Gary and I both nearly fell off our seat when we see it. You know, onto the account, is this right? Are you sure this is right? Have you done the numbers right? You know, it's things like that. It's not all glorious.
No, it's a hell, man. No.
And the worry is, and I'll go back to what I said before, you then are responsible for your employees.
Absolutely.
Because if you fail as a business, you failed them as well.
Absolutely.
Because then they've got outgoings, they've got families and things, and they rely on you and your business thriving and the money coming in and their wages getting paid and their wages going up and all things.
Absolutely.
So it's scary.
Absolutely.
And it comes with headache as well. The more staff you've got, the more headache you've got, the more problems you've got.
The biggest headache, right, and I mean this with respect to any of my staff that are watching this, is staff. Meaning that's not refer to it as like having children.
It
is like having children. And I get it, right, because you mentioned it earlier, you know, I get it, like, we try and our staff, I want them to feel like they don't. It's not a job, right? It's not a job. It's a career, right? It's we're giving them an opportunity and a path to realise and things that they want to do in their lives, and you know. And I won't get into too much detail, but I always look at it. I'm giving you an opportunity, right? But at the end of the day, it's a job for most of them, right? It is a job, right? And they treat it like an employee. And I got, this is my regular, this whole success and excuses where I don't accept excuses, right? And I regularly say, you don't need to ask me. Ask yourself these questions. Is this adding value to the company? And does this add value to me?
Yep.
And does it add value to the client? And if the three answers are yes, I don't need to know. Yep. Just go there. Like, I don't need approval. I don't need to approve. Just, that's the secret. Ask yourself, does it add value to the company? Does it add value to the customer or client? Does it add value to me as a person? Go date then. Done. I don't need to know. But the amount of times people come and you're going, oh, I can't believe
start a full discussion over it.
Does it add value? Tick, go do it. But it is, biggest problem in any business or organisation is people. And I think you've got to go through that curve as well, Armin. I think when you get to like the first 2 or 3 or 4 people just seem to just happen, but then you get to 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and you just actually, it just becomes a blur. Yep. I mean, it just becomes, I actually sometimes need to think about how does it work for us again? How many people have we got? Because you forget. Anyway, I want to start wrapping up. What's the vision? What's next for Dyco IT? What does that look like next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, James, we're looking to grow. We're looking to get get into more corporate organisations. We've taken on some really nice clients in the past couple of years, and that's opened up a new vision for us to see what else is out there. So, and how we can benefit these bigger organisations, and how we can, and what we've done for these organisations has completely changed the way they work. So we want to then grow, bring in more young people, maybe those who have just come out of school, not sure what to do, give tech a try, apprentices, bring them in and actually show them. Because IT is one of those things where it isn't a job, it is a career, because you're learning all the time. So you're sitting exams, you're developing, and when you see a young person who's just come out of school, not got a clue what they're going to do, and we bring them in and they build a career out of it, it's also satisfying for us as well to actually watch them grow, because as the business grows, they grow with us. So we're just looking to expand, bring more people into the business, and give good customer service and help businesses grow also. Because as businesses grow, when Power Within's growing, that's good for us. It's good for you because we grow, because we're looking after more staff,
more laptops, more people.
We know that you're not just going to fold, because if you fold, then that's us lost a customer.
Absolutely.
We've lost an income. So as bad as that might sound, but we're all here to make a living. We're looking, and I've got a child as well, and he's already said that he would like to join. So if I can build a business, it's a good business that he can come into, and then he can take over. And then I can take a step back, because you can trust him. He builds the business, and then somebody new is coming in with a younger vision, can implement better things into the business.
AI or supporting
all
businesses,
the things
and different things like that.
I'm 43 now, 44 this year, so I still think old. Whereas the younger generation, some of the stuff that he does, you think, wow, why can that can be something that can come into the business in the future. So the vision is, keep growing the business to the point where I could hopefully take a step back, and then
I'll wait for that day. I'll wait for that day you take a step back.
Take a step back. I know, but I don't know whether it will happen or not. Time will tell.
So if anybody's looking to get a hold of you, if anybody's interested in the conversation, having a chat, how does people get in contact with you, Armin?
The best thing is just go on, just Google Dyco IT. And it'll come up.
DycoIT.com or just
.co.uk.
DycoIT.co.uk.
Or or they can email me ao@dycoit.co.uk. We're always happy to come and look at people's the way they work.
You don't have you're national, aren't you? You're all over the UK.
We've got customers in Aberdeen. We've got customers all over. We are trying to expand down south. There's things that we're doing down south. But the thing is, James, with what I've always said is, if somebody comes to us and says, I've got 1,000 staff, we'll accommodate it. We've worked in that industry for so long that I've got people that I can put into place straight away. Yep. So we're not scared of growth.
Right.
And there's things that we're trying to do down south just now as well. So if that all comes, then we'll hopefully have some sort of office down there as well. So growth is always there, and we're not scared to grow because we've worked in industries that are big, public sector and private sector. So yeah, we're always happy. The thing is, though, James, with IT, I've always said it's one of those things that every organisation needs, but nobody wants to pay for.
Absolutely.
The amount of organisations that are out there, 30, 40 staff.
But the good businesses know they need to pay for it, though. Like, I get it. You do feel like it's like a lot of money going out the door. But the satisfaction and like, I don't need to worry like about laptops and my computer going down. I don't worry because I pay you to worry about it.
Exactly, and we've got an obligation to make sure that your data is safe, it's backed up.
Absolutely.
And if something goes wrong, we can bring it back. But the amount of organisations out there that will spend a fortune on like iPhones every couple of years, they'll spend £1,500 on the best iPhone, but yet their laptop that they're using that makes them money on a day to day, they've spent £500 6 years ago. They're saying they're complaining about it. So people put money in the wrong places and businesses. The IT, they don't understand how important it is. Once it's implemented and everything becomes streamlined, then they realise the true value of it. Or if a virus hits and they lose all their data,
absolutely,
at that point,
man.
Why wait till you get to that point? Every business needs an accountant. Nobody does their own accounts unless you're an accountant yourself. So why would you give your accounts to an accountant? There's a reason for that, because HMRC will come and get you.
Absolutely.
If you don't do it right.
Absolutely.
So why would you try and do your IT yourself? Because it's such a vast amount of information that you need to know to be able to support it. And then what happens is that things aren't streamlined, your staff are unhappy, etc. So I always say to people,
laptops go down, they're offline for days. I mean, I would dread to think, and I'm not blowing smoke because you're on the pod, but I would dread to think what my business would be without you guys supporting us.
If your business
we're on the phone, I reckon we're maybe on the phone to you every other day. One reason or another.
The thing is, though, that if a business is turning over 10 million in revenue, right, the amount of staff they've got and everything that they've got in place, if their systems are down for a day, fully down,
it's a lot of money.
That could be £40,000 a day.
Easy.
So you think, and the other thing as well is people, bigger organisations think, should I just get an IT manager in? Well, an IT manager is good, but the problem with an IT manager is it becomes their baby. So you're then paying 50, 60 grand, whatever it is to that IT manager, whereas an external company will always use the latest technology.
Yep.
We're always held liable. There's no sick pay. There's none of this.
And it's just like having somebody, though, because we communicate with you
all the time.
We've got the software on a laptop, so you can log in as you do regularly. You log in and you just
and it costs a fraction of what it would cost to employ someone. And I always say, like, if you don't have IT, get something in place. But people always leave IT to last.
Till the shit hits the fan.
Another thing as well that, for anyone that's listening, if you're thinking about going into business, speak to an IT company at the start. Don't try and do things yourself, because what happens then is it then costs money to move your emails, to put things into place. Whereas if you do it from day one and you do it properly, it'll grow with the business.
Absolutely, 100%.
And it'll cost you less in the long run.
That's exactly how we when we came into you with just a couple of people to take care of your email addresses. Then it was to take care of their email addresses and their laptops, and it was email addresses, laptops, and then it was cyber security, and then it was just like
your biggest downfall, James, is a Mac. That's all I can say.
I am a Mac user.
That's your downfall.
He doesn't fix my stuff.
Doesn't fix your stuff.
Because Macs don't break down, by the way.
That's keep telling yourself that.
Listen, Armin, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for coming along.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers, bud. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks. Cheers.